EuroHooplife, Bennett Davison. We're interviewing Coach Dean Murray. We're going to be talking specifically about Far West China. Coach, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing? I appreciate you having me with me.
Absolutely. We want to. I just want to kind of ask you the team. Let's dig right into it. What was the team name? What was the city? What was the city like? What was it like in China? I don't have a lot of interviews, and you're one of the first ones.
Okay. The team was Xinjiang, Xinjing,
Okay.
and that is the province. It's called Xinjiang province. The city was Urumqi,
Okay.
and interesting place. It's actually known as an autonomous zone
Okay.
out in far west
Give a
China.
definition of that.
I did not know anything about it because everyone's aware of the media coverage in China is fairly guarded.
Yep.
But once we got out there, the whole area is Muslim.
Okay.
And it's from a group of Muslims called Uyghurs,
Really?
descendants of Turkey. But yeah, like I said, once I got there, I had no idea it was a Muslim population even in China.
So that's kind of where they force all the Muslims to live, or say, hey, this is kind of where you go if your religion is Muslim.
It's far west China. So actually, there's a lot of controversy. I had actually seen a story on National Geographic called "The Mummies of Xinjiang," where even before I got there, where they had discovered some bodies out there mummified, and these people had red hair. So not your typical Chinese.
There you go.
So, and then Urumqi is famous for being one of the crossroads of the Silk Road, famous Silk Road. So that was an area that was settled by these people, and then China just took it over, and then they actually transport 400 Hans a day out there for work and living to make sure the population is 60-40 Chinese.
Oh, really? For that purpose?
Yes. Yes.
Wow, it's funny how they get to orchestrate things over there. It's just so let's get into it. So, what was the team like? What was the city like? What was the? You said this was your first year in China. You had nowhere to expect. You had nothing to expect.
My first time in China. The team is year in and year out one of the best teams in China.
Okay.
The owner of this team is actually one of the 20 richest men in China.
Okay.
And with that being said, he's a billionaire, not a millionaire.
Oh, yeah.
So, and the facilities were typical Asian type, where you have a dorm type setting for the team. The foreigners would live. Actually, me and the other American coach who were there, we actually lived in the dorms with the players. The two Americans lived in a house outside of the complex, but this was a big place that housed the senior team and two separate junior teams there.
So like the under 16 and the under 14 team?
And under 18 team and the under 16 team. Yeah. So, and 4 full courts, full dining facilities, 3 meals a day. So the facilities were good, and it's, geared for total basketball.
So how were the food? That's always one of the concerns. How was the food over there? How did those, like you said,
I think in most kind of settings, it's tough to eat in China. But when we were in the facility with the team, if we wanted to get some eggs cooked in the morning, some potatoes and stuff like that, fruit, cereal, no problem. And they basically would cook us in the facility what we wanted to be cooked.
Okay.
We wanted steak or chicken or anything like that. The other players, we were the only team that actually had Uyghurs on the team. We had 3 or 4 Muslim players on the team.
And so
the only team in China.
They practice Ramadan during the season also?
They have a little different style about how they do it, based on the practices and everything. But, another interesting thing about that area is the Uyghurs did everything separate from the Chinese. In China, like we have 3 time zones. That was out in far west. China only has 1 time zone. It's on Beijing time.
Yeah.
So when it was 8 a.m. Chinese time, it was 6 a.m. Uyghur time out out there.
Okay.
So they didn't go to school with the Chinese or anything like
And
that.
so
That
they
was a
wouldn't like they
pretty.
wouldn't now when and you were saying as these teams, obviously the team would all eat together, but when they're out doing sociable things, they never really correspond, like segregation, pretty much.
Didn't go to school with each other or anything.
Okay. Oh, that's a little
Yeah, it was.
fascinating. I haven't heard
It
anything of
was.
that nature.
It was totally separate. But anyway, back to our meals. One thing they would serve in the dining room at night, I didn't eat it any, but they had chicken feet, and not chicken legs, but they had chicken feet,
So
and
just
that's what they
the
would serve.
crusty little chicken feet.
Just like that. You just gnaw off
And they
off the
just sit
skin
there and
on
just
it.
like peel the skin off the bones and stuff, or what?
And one of the Wigger guys would say, "Here, coach, this is good, man. Try it." I said, "No, I don't think so." So,
All right.
so,
So
but
you said
but
you
overall, our food situation was good.
okay. So they took care of it over there.
Right.
Now, when you were in that it's kind of a league and you were in the far west, what was the farthest flight that you would have to take in that league?
For our team, obviously when we went all the way to Beijing, those are just like traveling from, LA to New York,
So it's a good 6 7
cross
hour flight.
country. Yeah. I mean, in anyway, in the Chinese league, you always got to fly everywhere.
Yeah.
There's no bus rides in between
Such a
cities.
massive country.
Yeah. And when you're playing the games over there, the schedule is Wednesday, Friday, Sunday.
Okay. And that's
So,
and that's red. So you're 3 days a week, one practice a day, kind of thing.
and if you get in a situation where you've got 3 road games, you flying on Tuesday, get there, practice, play on Wednesday, fly on Thursday, play on Friday, fly on Saturday, play on Sunday, and then come back home.
So
So
how
it's
were
a
the
pretty tough
facilities?
schedule.
Like, how were the facilities? Because I remember being in Slovenia and I actually traveled to China. And some of them would just be just cement kind of steps up, and there'd be fans, in the stands like that. Then you go to a nice place and
Right.
there's plastic seats and it's state of the art. In China? Do you have a different variety of different facilities that you play against these teams?
Typically, I think for the CBA, they have a standard. So most of the facilities were arenas. I would
Arenas.
say, the smallest ones being 5, 6, 7,000,
Okay,
but
biggest ones are
typically
20.
plenty of them most of them were around 10,000.
Okay, nice. So the fans
But
are.
the only thing about there is they, it could be cold in the gyms though.
Okay.
You'd see most of the people during the wintertime would be wearing coats sitting in the gym.
So the
You
body
could
heat
be
is
in
what
some
keeps them
places
warm.
and be blowing smoke on the bench,
Yeah, yeah. Now, do they smoke in the gym like they do in Greece over there?
Uh, I have been in some where they allow the smoking,
Okay.
but I think towards the end, the last couple of times I was there, they had done away with that.
Awesome.
But there's still a little bit of smoke in there. One city, Shanxi, is a coal mining city, and it would actually be a little bit of mist in the gym from the coal mining stuff.
Wow,
So
just because of air pollution and stuff. I heard
yes,
Corona and all the, I guess all the dust and the pollution in the air has actually died down since the Corona, and there's not as much manufacturing going on.
yeah. I mean, because when you fly into Beijing, you think you're going into a San Francisco fog, but it's actually smog.
Yep, exactly. Well, let's like kind of finish this up. Like, what are the finances in China? What were were there any issues with China? Were they pretty consistent? Is it something that the government protects all the players? Let's go into the finances of this team, Xinjiang.
Um, Typically, the government's not involved with the teams. The teams are individually owned.
Okay.
But in most cases, the teams are well off. Like our team in Xinjiang, we had no issues at all with the payments or anything. So, and you can set up the bonuses, and we had a really good team too. We were in the finals that year and went 31-1 in the regular season.
Awesome.
So everybody was happy. So,
yeah. When everybody's happy, everybody gets paid.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Let's wrap it up. If you were to give advice to a player or a player and his wife, and to be able to go over there, what last words of information or advice would you give them playing for this individual team?
Of the places I've been, China's a little bit tougher. When you get out into, if you're in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, those places, you can get any type of meals and any type of food you want. But typically, when you fly over there, you'll fly into a city and then you take a 2-hour bus ride to the city where you're playing at.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the biggest issue over there too, besides sometimes, not having the food you want, is there's not a lot of people speaking English.
Yeah.
that can be a little bit of frustrating at times. You need a good translator, and you need him with you all the time.
Yeah. So that'll probably
Even to go to the mall, it's difficult to even get someone to tell you where the bathroom is.
Okay. So you would say for the food is fine in certain places. The smaller towns where you play, you have to take a little 2-hour bus after getting on a flight, after getting off a
Right.
flight, and the language barrier. But
Yeah,
everything else,
the language being the biggest one.
okay. Outstanding. Coach, thank you for your time, and we'll be discussing about 2 or 3 other teams that you've coached for in your long coaching history.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.